it's funny, if you think about all things created by the mind alone, I'll give you an example of fear that I had. It's so interesting. So a long time ago, when I first started practicing, I went to Nepal because I was just so ignorant. I didn't realize there was a Zen center right up the street from my house. So I got on the plane and went halfway around the world, which is basically how I approached everything in my life, the long way. And so we were told that the teacher was up in the Himalayan mountains. So put the backpacks on with a couple of friends and set out on a month-long trek up into these, pretty high, steep paths to get to this temple. So this one particular day, it was a beautiful day, and we knew that this particular day we were going to be going through a place called the Gorapani Forest. And the Gorapani Forest is like really beautiful, and it's huge rhododendron, actually trees. They're really big. So we're all in such a good mood, and it was a nice day and very beautiful scenery. My friend was in front of me and one friend was in back of me, and we were laughing and we were talking, and we got these pretty big heavy backpacks on. And we're just going along and everything's great. When we're halfway across, without even realizing this, we're halfway across a, quote, bridge that was no wider than the cushion that you're sitting on. Actually, quite a bit more narrow than if you had that cushion lengthwise, maybe like about this wide. A big plank, no railing. And my friend made the terrible mistake halfway across this bridge of saying to me, "Don't look down." And so she said, "Don't look down." Now, prior to her saying that, we were fine. We were just walking across this bridge. She said, "Don't look down." And I looked down, and I mean, this was the Himalayas, so we're talking like a tiny ribbon of blue on the bottom that was a river. That clearly if you fell over, that was going to be the end of it. And I felt my whole body turn to jelly, like my knees just turned to jelly, and everything just, I barely just stumbled across this to the end of this bridge. And so we all three sat on the end of the bridge and realized what we had just crossed. We couldn't even move, So from that point on the trek, for the next several, like another week or 10 days or however much it was, I couldn't sleep at night because I realized that we were going to have to cross back over that bridge to get home. And each day it got worse and worse. Like during the day it was okay, but then every single night when I would go to lay down and go to sleep in the tent, I just couldn't imagine how I was ever going to get home. And this was happening to my two friends as well. And so the day came, we went up and then we were coming back, and we knew that day we were going to come to this bridge. And we get to it, and none of us could cross. So we had built up so much in our minds that we were so petrified that we couldn't move. And we watched all these elderly people walking across, kids walking across. One lady, she had to be about 80, she's walking across with a small bureau on her head, And so we kept kind of charging up to being like, all right, and we just couldn't do it. So we sat there for a good hour or two, and we thought, well, what are we going to do now? And this is all in our head. Well, I think a lot of it felt like it was in the body too, but I mean, it was all made. We had all made it into this big thing. And we're watching everyone else cross it so easily, and finally a team of hikers from, I think it was Austria, professional hikers, came, and we told them what our dilemma. We said, we just can't get across, we don't know what to do. So this one guy was really a bodhisattva. He said, all right, I'm going to tie a sock to the back of my backpack. And he really risked his life, because if one of us had panicked and we yanked him, he would have also gone over. And he said, so you're going to hold on to the sock on the back of my backpack and keep your eye and your hand on the sock, and I will walk you across this bridge. I'd say the bridge was It's so hard to know. My memory's probably made it like, the Tappan Zee. But I'd say it was 3/4 of the length of this room at least. It was, a good stretch. Maybe the length of the room, whatever. So he did that, and he walked me across, and I was able to do it, and he walked my 2 friends across. And actually, when we got down to Kathmandu at the end, we found out that one of the members of that team had actually died on the journey, on that trek. And that was such a deep gut experience for me of how paralyzing things can be when we make them in our mind. And how prior to having any concept of this bridge, we were just crossing. We were like almost across. If my friend hadn't said don't look down, it wouldn't have even been a problem. Really powerful, right? So all things are created by the mind alone. That's an extreme example, and I use it because I remember it so viscerally to this day, like how powerful it was. But in the smaller scale, that fear can display itself in our workplace, in our family, socially, just like the anger that Martin talked about, just like so many of these things that we deal with every day. And practicing just teaches us how to let go, how to drop this storyline, how to drop this I, my, me. That part is extra. The I am that we put on everything. And then when we have the I, we have to protect it and defend it. And then, like you were saying, like if somebody, you're the hero in all your stories, or even if you're the victim, you're the hero, right? I mean, we all started laughing because we know that so well. And that all comes from this I, or this anger too, If somebody says something we don't agree with or about us, we don't have to get angry. We don't have to be afraid. But it's our human nature to do that. But practicing allows us at least that perspective to let it go. And that's really, really important. And that's why it's so powerful.